My name is Chloe Reed, and I am 30 years old. My work is to find the beauty in what the world has left behind. I walk through halls of peeling paint and rooms filled with the ghosts of forgotten industry. My camera, my only companion. I listen to the stories told by dust and decay. Last night, at a sterile awards banquet designed to celebrate my brother's ambition, the quiet life I had built in the shadows was dragged into the blinding, unwelcome spotlight. The public ultimatum my family delivered wasn't the final nail in my coffin. It was the reveal of a silent empire they never knew existed. The event was the annual Chamber of Commerce Awards dinner, held in a Solace Hotel ballroom that smelled of industrial, grade carpet cleaner and salmon puffs. It was the kind of place where success was measured in square footage and profit margins. My brother, Alex, was the man of the hour, slated to receive the Developer of the Year award. At 33, Alex was the embodiment of polished, predatory capitalism. He didn't build things, he leveraged assets. He didn't preserve communities, he disrupted markets. My father, a man who worshipped at the altar of financial success, was holding court, booming with pride about Alex's vision. My mother, a woman whose love was distributed based on a child's potential for generating impressive Christmas card newsletters, floated from table to table, the perfect corporate spouse. I sat at the family table, a captive audience, feeling as out of place as a wildflower in a parking lot. My simple black dress and the faint scent of old paper and dust that clung to me were a stark contrast to the room's glitter and gloss. My role, as always, was to be the silent, slightly embarrassing testament to my brother's superior shine. After the dessert plates were cleared, the ceremony began. When Alex's name was called, he strode to the podium with the easy confidence of a man who believes the world owes him its applause. He accepted the glass trophy and flashed a smile that could sell a condemned building at a premium. Thank you, he started, his voice smooth as polished granite. It's an honor to be recognized for moving this city forward. Too often, we let sentimentalism and nostalgia hold us back from progress. My philosophy is simple: look forward, never back. His eyes swept the room and landed on me. A slow, condescending smile spread across his face. Speaking of looking forward, he continued, I want to share some personal news. My family and I are so proud of the journey my little sister, Chloe, is on. She's a creative soul, but creativity needs direction. That's why tonight, I'm publicly offering her a junior marketing position at Reed Commercial. It's time she had a real job, a 401k, and a chance to be part of the real world. A smattering of patronizing applause filled the room. I felt 100 pairs of eyes on me, a wave of pity and judgment. It was a public shaming disguised as a benevolent rescue. Before I could react, my father stood up from our table, raising his glass. That's my boy, he bellowed. And we, as a family, are going to support both our children. To help Chloe transition into her new career, without any financial burdens, my wife and I will be facilitating the sale of the old warehouse her grandfather left her. It's a decaying asset in a prime location. The capital will give Alex the runway he needs for his next and greatest project, demolishing the old Orpheum Theater to make way for a much-needed multi-level parking structure and retail space. The room froze. The Orpheum was a local landmark, a crumbling but beloved piece of city history. The threat was clear, the ultimatum absolute. This wasn't a plan, it was a public decree. They were liquidating my home, my studio, and the heart of my entire operation to fuel his ambition. My mother leaned over, her voice a venomous whisper in my ear. Just smile and nod, Chloe. It's for the best. It's for the family. Don't make a scene. This is your chance to finally be normal. Don't ruin this for your brother. They expected me to shrink, to accept my fate with quiet resignation. They saw a girl who played in the dirt, a directionless hobbyist who needed to be saved from herself. They saw the scapegoat. But the woman they were speaking to was not the girl they remembered. I looked past their triumphant faces, past the crowd, my gaze fixed on the podium where my brother stood, basking in his perceived victory. And I let a small, knowing smirk touch my lips. It was a smirk that held the weight of 1,000 secrets, of countless hours spent in silence, of a plan years in the making. They thought they were bulldozing a ruin. They had no idea they were poking a dragon. Have you ever been completely misunderstood by the people who are supposed to know you best? Have they ever tried to dictate your life based on their flawed perception of you? I would love to read your story in the comments. To understand that smirk, you have to understand the foundation it was built on. In the Reed family, Alex was the finished high-rise, and I was the messy, chaotic construction site. From our earliest days, our paths were set. When Alex, at 12, won a school competition by selling the most candy bars, using a slick, borderline manipulative sales pitch he'd learned from our father, he was praised as a natural-born CEO and given $100 bill. That same year, when I spent a month meticulously cleaning, exploring, and photographing the abandoned old mill at the edge of town, creating a detailed historical record of it, I was grounded for a week for trespassing and wasting time on a dangerous, dirty hobby. My father's mantra was, assets and liabilities, Chloe. You need to know the difference. To him, Alex was a blue chip asset. I was a non-performing liability. My passion was born from my grandfather, my father's father, a man my dad had largely written off as a sentimental old fool. Grandpa Reed was a retired civil engineer who believed that buildings had souls. He'd take me on long walks, not through parks, but through the forgotten parts of the city. He taught me how to read the history in a crumbling brick facade, how to see the stories in a faded marquee. Progress is important, Clobug. He'd say, but progress without memory is just vandalism. When he passed, he left me the one thing my father didn't want: his old, dusty warehouse on the industrial side of the river. To my family, it was a tax burden. To me, it was a legacy. The moment that galvanized my quiet rebellion into a concrete mission happened when I was 21. A beautiful, historic Art Deco building downtown, the Chandler Building, was sold. I had spent weeks documenting it, capturing the intricate brass work on the elevator doors, the stunning terrazzo floors, the ghost of its former glory. I had a whole portfolio, a love letter to the building. The developer who bought it was a mentor of my brother's. Alex was an intern on the project. I tried to show him my photos, tried to explain why the building was worth saving. He just laughed. Chloe, it's a teardown. The land is worth 10 times what that old wreck is. You've got to be realistic. A month later, I stood across the street and watched as a wrecking ball slammed into the Chandler's elegant facade. I felt it like a physical blow. When I confronted my family that night, my voice raw with grief, my father just shook his head. It's called progress. The city needs new office space, not another dusty relic. You need to stop living in the past, Chloe. It's holding you back. That night, watching the dust of the Chandler settle over the city, I made a vow. I would not stop living in the past. I would preserve it. I would become its champion. And I would do it so far outside their world that they would never even see me coming. I realized then that the only way to save the buildings I loved was to have more power than the men who wanted to destroy them. The best revenge wouldn't be an argument. It would be an acquisition. From that day on, I lived a double life. To my family, I was still aimless Chloe, drifting through my 20s, living a sparse existence in the apartment above my junk-filled warehouse, taking on odd freelance photography gigs to get by. This narrative was comfortable for them. It made Alex's slick, soulless transactions seem all the more impressive. But online, under the anonymous moniker, Echoes of Dust, I was building an empire. I launched a blog and YouTube channel dedicated to the art and history of abandoned places. I didn't just post photos, I did deep dive historical research. I interviewed former workers, found old blueprints, and told the human stories behind the decay. My work was respectful, artistic, and meticulously researched. The channel exploded. It turned out there were millions of people like me, people who saw beauty and history where others saw only blight. My audience grew, and with it, my influence. Historical societies began to contact me. Architectural magazines wanted to feature my work. Camera and tech companies offered lucrative sponsorships. I was generating an income that would have stunned my family, all while they thought I was struggling to pay my internet bill. I incorporated, forming Keystone Preservation LLC, a name that was intentionally boring and anonymous. With the advice of a savvy lawyer and a brilliant financial planner, I began to invest. Not just in the stock market, but in real estate. I started small, buying and restoring a single historic storefront, using a local contractor who shared my vision. I leased it to an artisan bakery. The project was a quiet, modest success. I did it again and again. All my profits were funneled back into Keystone. I was becoming the very thing my brother pretended to be: a successful, and more importantly, a principled developer. My family remained blissfully ignorant. Their willful blindness was my greatest shield. They never asked why I was installing high-speed fiber optic cable in my rundown warehouse, or why I was taking meetings with architects and city planners. In their minds, I was still the girl with the dirty boots and the useless hobby. This perception was so fixed, so convenient for their family narrative, that they couldn't see the truth even when it was right in front of them. This brings us back to the banquet, and Alex's grand plan to demolish the Orpheum Theater. He had been working the deal for months, schmoozing city officials, promising a huge tax windfall from his new parking garage. The final hurdle was a city council zoning variance vote, scheduled for the following week. He was certain it was a done deal. He saw the Orpheum as his crowning achievement, the project that would make him a true power player in the city. He saw my warehouse as the final piece of the financial puzzle. After the public humiliation at the dinner, I didn't go home and cry. I went home and prepared for war. The city council meeting was packed. The room buzzed with tension. On one side were Alex and his team of slick lawyers and architects, their faces smug and confident. On the other were a small but passionate group of local historians and concerned citizens, looking defeated before the meeting even began. I slipped into a seat in the back, unnoticed. Alex gave his presentation first. It was full of glossy renderings of a soulless concrete garage and promises of economic revitalization. He framed the opposition as a few sentimental Luddites, standing in the way of progress. Then, the council president announced that a representative from the State Historical Preservation Society had requested to speak. A distinguished-looking older woman named Dr. Alastair took the podium. "Mr. Reed's presentation is compelling," she began, her voice calm and authoritative. "However, it is based on a false premise that the Orpheum Theater is a non-viable, decaying asset. We would like to present new information that suggests otherwise." She dimmed the lights. The large screen behind her lit up with a video. It was a breathtaking short documentary about the Orpheum. It opened with stunning, artistic shots of the theater's interior. The dusty velvet seats, the gilded proscenium arch, the ghost light on the stage. The cinematography was intimate and beautiful. The video seamlessly wove in archival footage, interviews with historians, and heartfelt pleas from local artists. It was a powerful, emotionally devastating piece of storytelling. It was the season finale of my show. As the video ended, a single credit appeared on the screen, produced by Echoes of Dust. A murmur went through the room. Alex's face had gone pale. He knew the name. He'd dismissed my fascination with the channel as nerdy. He had no idea. Dr. Alastair continued. "As you can see, the Orpheum is not a liability. It is a cultural treasure. And thanks to the incredible work of the artist known as Echoes of Dust, its importance has been brought to national attention. In fact," she said, her voice rising, "this documentary was the centerpiece of a fundraising campaign that has secured a fully funded, all-cash counter offer to purchase the Orpheum." Alex shot to his feet. "Objection? From who? Who is this mystery buyer?" "The offer comes from a local development group, Keystone Preservation LLC," Dr. Alastair said, looking at her notes. "They have a proven track record of successful historic restorations. The owner of the LLC is here tonight to answer any questions. Miss Chloe Reed." Every head in the room swiveled towards the back. The silence was absolute. I stood up, my heart hammering against my ribs, and walked slowly to the podium. I could feel my brother's stare like a physical burn. I saw the utter soul-shattering disbelief on his face, and on the faces of my parents, who had come to watch their son's great victory. I reached the podium and adjusted the microphone. "Good evening," I said, my voice clear and steady. "My name is Chloe Reed. I am the founder and creator of Echoes of Dust, and I am the sole owner of Keystone Preservation LLC. For the past 6 years, my hobby has been my business. A business dedicated to proving that preservation and progress are not mutually exclusive. My company is making a cash offer to purchase the Orpheum Theater. We will not be demolishing it. We will be restoring it to its former glory, to serve as a non-profit community arts center and live performance venue. Our financial backing is secure, and our restoration plans are already drafted." I placed a thick, professionally bound portfolio on the council's desk. "Furthermore," I added, Looking directly at my brother, I'd like to address Reed Commercial's assumption that my grandfather's warehouse would be for sale to fund their project. I'm afraid that property is not on the market. It recently became the official corporate headquarters of my media company and my development firm. The aftermath was swift and decisive. The city council, faced with a PR nightmare and a financially solid, culturally heroic alternative, voted unanimously to accept my company's bid. The story was front-page news the next day. Anonymous blogger Echoes of Dust, revealed as local hero, saves Orpheum Theater. For Alex, the public humiliation was catastrophic. His reputation as a savvy dealmaker was shattered, replaced by the image of a greedy bully who tried to bulldoze a landmark and was outmaneuvered by his own failure of a sister. His investors grew wary, and his pipeline of future deals dried up. The developer of the year was a pariah. My parents were caught in the crossfire of their own making. Their social circle, which had been congratulating them on Alex's success, now treated them with a mixture of pity and contempt. They were the parents who had publicly tried to sell their daughter's home to help their son destroy a piece of history. They called me. Their voices a strange mix of feigned pride and desperate confusion. They couldn't comprehend the world I had built without their approval or their knowledge. I kept the conversations short and polite. I did not offer them a place in my new world. The emotional mortgage they held on me had been foreclosed on long ago. My life, on the other hand, blossomed. Stepping out from the shadows of anonymity was terrifying, but liberating. The restoration of the Orpheum became a celebrated city-wide project. I was no longer just the quiet girl with a camera. I was a businesswoman, a preservationist, a storyteller who had proven that the past was worth fighting for. I had found my true family in the community of artists, historians, and craftsmen who helped me bring the Orpheum back to life. Sometimes, I stand on the grand stage of the restored theater, the ghost light casting a single, steady glow. I look out at the empty, velvet seats, and I can almost hear the echoes of the applause from a century of performances. They taught me the most important lesson of all, that true value is often hidden beneath layers of dust and neglect. Your job is not to convince the world to see it. Your job is to have the vision to see it yourself, and the courage to build a world where that beauty can shine again. Thank you for listening to my story. It is a reminder that the most powerful forces in the world are often the quietest. Please, share your own story of a passion that others underestimated. Your story matters, and it deserves to be heard.